So this is an actual program that people can download and come in and
All
kind of
right.
look around and play and zoom in and get into this star map that you've built. And I'm going to start at Sol, and then I'm going to travel, 50 light years out to the settled systems.
Welcome everyone to Starfield Signal, your place for everything Starfield. I am your host, Luke. I am very excited for today's video because it's our first community feature. In this series, we'll chat with different members of the Starfield community and highlight their projects. As the channel continues to grow, this is just one of the ways we're expanding the scope and the reach of our channel. If you know of any creators or projects in the Starfield community that would make for a great feature on the channel, reach out through the email on the channel's About page. For today's interview, I chat with the creator of Starfield Navigator, an interactive map reconstruction of Starfield's known star systems. Sebastian was so kind to share more about the program and how to use it. You can actually download this right now on your PC through the link in the description. Thanks for watching. A quick reminder to like and subscribe. Now for the interview.
I am joined today by a very special guest, and I'm really excited for you to hear from him and hear more about his project. We're joined now by Sebastian, all the way from Germany. Sebastian, hello, welcome to Starfield Signal.
Hi.
Great to have you here. Well, I just want to take a moment for you to introduce yourself, tell as little or as much about yourself as you want to, and then I'd like to just connect on Starfield, kind of hear what brought you to have interest in that game, as we all are here on the channel, and then we'll kind of dive into your project. So the floor is yours, my friend.
Sure. So, I'm just a guy, a gamer like everyone else. I've been playing earlier games by Bethesda, of course, mostly Morrowind and Skyrim, I guess. I kind of skipped Oblivion. And I'm not a Fallout guy, to be honest.
Right.
But yeah, so Starfield, next big thing. Pretty excited, I guess. Hoping it turns out great.
Right, yeah, that's what we're all hoping for.
Oh yeah.
um, that's very exciting. And so, tell me more about this project you're doing. It's named Starfield Navigator. And so, kind of give me like a bird's eye
Right.
view of what the project is, and then maybe what inspired you to tackle this thing.
Well, I guess it all started with the first Starfield showcase, or what was it called? Like the gameplay reveal or something.
Right. Yeah.
Um, it's been quite some time already, like 9 months or so, and we got our first glimpse into the game. And yeah, so within that video, we could see a very small scene, 6 seconds or so, which showed the galaxy map. And the idea was whether we could use that footage to kind of gain more information about the map of the game.
Mhm.
And that's really what the project is about. We kind of succeeded, I guess, with what you could work with. And now you can explore that part of the galaxy which we hope got right.
That's very exciting. And so you took some screenshots or some screen grabs, and then I'm assuming through math and calculations and
Yeah.
geometry and all of the devil's canvy. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm not that great at math, especially geometry. But I'm assuming you kind of took all those skills that you have and kind of put them into this project that way.
Yeah, so I guess I could go a bit into the process, how it all came to be.
Sure.
So,
I'll tell you what, while you're talking, do you have the ability to share your screen and maybe just kind of look at the program as you're talking? Right here.
right, that one, that's the money
Okay.
shot.
That's the money shot
So,
right there.
yeah, it really is like I spent quite some time with that 6 seconds or so.
Okay.
So, what we can see is all the systems, or at least parts of the system of the game, or rather their stars. And we can see that some of the systems have labels associated, like you can see Alpha Centauri and Sol and Nerion and Cheyenne and all of them.
Okay.
And
And these are
so,
all, and forgive me, I'm not my
sure.
astronomy is not great. But these are all actual systems that our astronomers here on Earth have identified a name. Is that correct?
And not quite. So the thing
Not quite.
is,
Okay.
you can Google it or you can know it. I had to Google it because I'm not an astronomer nerd either.
Okay.
But if you Google them, you find out that some are real, some are not. So Sol is a term, used for our solar system, though I'm pretty sure we are real. Alpha Centauri, pretty famous, I guess. It's real too.
Okay.
And like if you could skip like a second or so further, you can see on the right popping up a star called Porrima, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, right
Right there
there at the
before it
end.
fades out.
Yeah, and that one is the third, which is real. So the
Okay.
other names you can see are made up in some way. Spoiler alert, they're not completely made up, but the names are. So the names are fictional. I guess it's fair in a sci-fi setting to assume that, if we would actually go to another system and colonize this, we wouldn't just take the name it randomly took, We would probably rename it. So I guess that's fair and everything. But some kept their name. I guess Eva Centauri is a pretty cool name, so I would kind of keep that too.
That is a cool name. Yeah.
And yeah, it is. And so I guess the kind of key insight that started the whole thing wasn't actually by me. It was by a pretty cool guy called SkyBorik. And he had the idea of using 3D programs and their tracking ability to kind of try to use that scene to
Okay.
find out more. So the thing is, if you have a 3D program, I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but you can kind of track pixels on video. So you can
Okay.
put a tracking marker on anything you want. In this case, we put it on the stars. And
Right.
there are quite a lot of them, 75 or so.
Okay.
And then you can tell, sorry?
Okay. I'm following you. I'm tracking you.
Yeah, okay. So we put the tracking markers on all the stars and kind of manually fine-tune them to follow their path along those 6 seconds. And then you can ask the program to kind of reconstruct their 3D positions. So that was the initial idea. It's still quite a way up to the navigator, but that was like the initial thing.
Yeah.
And what you end up with is kind of positions which are correct in relations to each other, but they are not correct in absolute terms. So you can't possibly, from tracking pixels in a video, reconstruct the actual 3D positions.
Sure.
You just get the like relative positions to each other.
Okay.
So what we then did, like we had to take the kind of arbitrary positions we got and map them to actual real life positions, to what's sometimes called galactic coordinates. And
Okay.
this is where it's pretty interesting. So when you go into math and linear algebra, you kind of find that the positions we have and those we need to have are linked by what's called a linear transformation. So in a way, they can be scaled and rotated and shifted around in some way so that they fit. In order to find out the transformation, you need exactly 3 points, which happily we exactly got, because earlier we have got Sol, Alpha Centauri, and Porrima. I'm not quite sure if we were just lucky or if that was intended by Bethesda, as a way to get there. I don't
Oh,
know.
wow. Yeah. That would be interesting. I
Yeah,
don't
it
know. I don't
was.
know if they would have even thought that people could do this, but
I don't know either.
I mean, I'm really impressed.
I was I didn't expect it to actually work, but it did. So
Yeah.
what we did is, so you can obviously, for real stars, you can look up their position, right? So their databases or Wikipedia or whatever.
Right.
So what we did is we constructed a transformation that would perfectly align these 3 stars to their real positions. But we would apply that transformation to all the stars. So now for all the stars, even those without labels, we kind of have their position now.
Okay.
And from then on, it gets really interesting because then you can kind of try to see if they are still if all those stars are actually real and what stars they are. So at the beginning, we kind of looked at stars which are pretty close to Earth because those are very well known. Not to me, like I'm an idiot, but in particular, a guy called Iskierka, he helped me a lot. And he kind of saw pretty soon that, so around Earth, there are stars called Wolf 359, for example, and Sirius. And those were recognized pretty soon. Like, that's kind of matching.
Okay.
But what we actually ended up doing is, obviously, you don't want to kind of play guessing games with 75 stars. So what I did is I downloaded like star databases, which with essentially all stars there are within a certain distance from Earth.
Okay.
And for each of the stars we reconstructed, we just went through all possible candidates and kind of got a best fit, right? And that worked. That really worked. So we kind of, for each point, got a best match and not like second best candidates. So that was really kind of the way we identified them all. And that's the key thing that the navigator does. So in that kind of 3D view you've seen in the program, you now can see exactly all those points from the showcase, but with their labels.
So this is an actual program that people can download and come in and kind
Right.
of look around and play and zoom in and.
Oh yeah. So everyone can download it. It's free. It's open source and everything. And but to download, like there's a pretty like if you scroll a bit down, there's a huge download link with like icons and something.
Okay.
Yeah, like
Gotcha.
Exactly. So everyone can download that with a Windows PC and run it.
Gotcha. Is it
Yeah,
does it
you have
work
to
on Mac?
Oh no! Oh God, no! Sorry.
Like, oh God,
so
no,
you're on the Mac.
don't
Now
do
I
it.
understand.
Okay. I do have a PC. It's not
So-
connected right now, but I'll look at that later. It's so
Okay.
funny.
But maybe if you want, like, I could share my screen. Maybe it's easier that way.
Okay. Well, let's try it. Let's see here.
So,
Okay, so you're in the program now. Wow.
all right. Yeah, this is like the current version of the program. I'm gonna zoom out a bit. So what you see here is,
Let me ask you a question here real
Go
quick.
ahead.
So when people open this up, this looks a bit intimidating, right, at first, because there's a lot of things that
yeah.
pop up on the screen. So where would you tell people to start? Like as far as like how to enjoy this the most? Walk me through that.
I guess the easiest is to click center selection thing,
Okay.
and then you can kind of hold your right mouse button and zoom around.
Okay.
Like you can get
Easy
an
as that.
overview. Yeah, exactly. And mouse wheel to in and out. And what you see here is actually all the stars from the video, but you can
Okay.
see the labels on them. So as I said, we can identify them all, and what you see here are the like standard identifiers with kind of you can see something like HD something something, and I don't know, different scientific names, however they were named.
Okay. And these are only the stars that we did see in the trailer. You didn't add in any kind of other real life systems that we know about based on the coordinates.
What is new? So you see the yellow ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
So kind of ignore XXX. That's actually a test thing. That's not real.
Okay.
What is extra is so a week ago or whenever it was, we got the release date video thing, and that actually contained a little bit of new information because we got a couple of new, gameplay fragments.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I
within
wanted to
those,
ask
we
about
saw,
that. We did see some new information.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least relevant to me. So we all have these HUD indicators in the lower left bottom of the screen, which shows the planet you are on if you are by foot.
Right.
And we saw 4 planets, I think.
Hmm.
And the planets were all named after their star and therefore after the system.
Okay.
And if you Google those, you find out that 2 of the 4 ones are fictional, so they're kind of useless, but 2 are real. And then
Okay.
you can just, Google. And one of them was Tau Ceti. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but it's like
I
in the
can.
lower left corner.
Yeah.
You can just Google, use the coordinates, and unless they kind of magically moved the star, it's right there. The other one was Cassiopeia. That's little bit more tricky because Cassiopeia is actually a constellation, a
Right.
huge constellation with many, many stars. And that constellation spans over a huge area in the galaxy. And it's a bit odd that it would be referred to just by the general term constellation, Cassiopeia, and not like Cassiopeia Alpha or Beta or whatever.
Okay.
So we can't quite know which one of the stars actually it refers to,
That makes sense.
but you so what you see here is I added like 4 candidates like
Hmm.
Eta, Mu, V something, and Beta Cassiopeia. I'm guessing it's probably more likely the closer one, but might be any of them or even more. Like there are many, many stars in that constellation. So that was a bit tricky. Yeah, but that's kind of the new things. And
Okay.
yeah, the other ones you can see. That's kind of like the most basic thing the program can do.
Very cool. So
Um,
you could, in theory, like if you were just super excited about the game and you kind of wanted to role play a little bit in your head, you could say, okay, I'm going to get into this star map that you've built and I'm going to start at Sol and then I'm going to travel, 50 light years out to the settled systems and I'm going to see where I can go here and how far away this system is to that system.
oh yeah, you can do a little bit more than that. So
Okay.
I guess the whole topic of how we will actually move in the game is still not entirely known. I mean, we know it's
Right.
about that drive or whatever it was called,
Hmm.
jumping in some
Right.
fashion. So we know that you can probably, I guess, click on a system on the galaxy map and you can jump there. We have seen ranges of the jump drives, which are exactly in the ranges you would expect. Like if you actually look at
Okay.
distances between the stars and the ranges we've seen, perfect match. Awesome.
Wow. Okay. Could
So
you give me an example of that? Let me, I want to bring up.
yeah, so
So we see up in the top left hand side of the screen the GRV, which I'm guessing is the grav drive level. Or so what are we
yeah,
looking here as far as okay, the jump range is what you were talking about.
yeah,
So down in the
that's the
bottom
important number, I guess.
on this one we have 18 light years. And so is that a good example to pull from as far as connecting that to the program?
Oh yeah. So if you actually go through all like the frames in the ship we see, and I kind
Hmm.
of found a file I wrote like half a year ago.
Right. So
We
there's
have
18,
ranges.
24, 30.
Yeah. Yeah. So the biggest one was 30, the lowest one was 15 from
Okay.
those we've seen. And those are right in the range where, like an upgrade would actually gain you access to more stars. So that fits
Okay.
right to the idea that we will probably jump to systems, within our graph range. And I guess so. The other topic was that I think there was an interview with Todd Howard where he talked about the use of fuel. I don't know if you've seen
Right.
that. And
I
he kind of
have.
said that they tried out fuel, but it was boring or something. So they kind of removed it.
Right. They didn't want the
So
player to run out of fuel like in the middle of their trip and just be stranded there because you couldn't do anything with that at that point.
yeah, exactly. So I don't think we kind of know exactly how they solved it. I guess it could be like cooldown between jumps or something else you have to do. But if the basic assumption is that if you want to go from A to B and like the distance is bigger than your jump range, then you would have to go, via other systems with 2 or whatever amount of jumps you have to do. And that's actually, from a mathematical perspective, an interesting and well-known problem because the systems kind
Right.
of form what's known as a graph, and the problem of finding an optimal path between that has been solved by a Dutchman called Dijkstra. So that entire logic is already in the navigator implemented. So maybe I can show that if that's interesting.
Yes, it really is.
There's this top right window, it's called tools or whatever.
Hmm.
And you have like 2 kind of things you can do. So first of all is to show the connections between systems. And I'm just gonna pull up the jump range to a very high number, and you can see essentially if you have a jump range of 30, now connections between all systems, with a distance of 30 or lower are connected. So you can
Oh,
see
that is
that,
so cool.
yeah, that's it's relatively
Wow.
straightforward, but you can see that, as your ship has a higher range, you can obviously kind of have connections between far more systems. And if your jump range is essentially 0, like you have no connections
Wow.
and everything in
Okay.
between, it's interactive.
Yeah.
So that's straightforward and not
That's
super
so cool,
interesting.
Sebastian.
Oh man, you should sell your Mac.
As soon as we get done, I'm going to go download it on my PC and play around with it. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, do that, do that. So, the more interesting thing is actually
Well,
the second button.
let me ask kind of a parenthetical question here. So, we don't know yet as far as like where we are starting out in the game, but we do know
Yeah,
from all those interviews that I think it was Will Shen who said like early in the game we'll head to Mars, and so that's in Seoul, and we could assume that early in the game, if we have our own ship, it will have a small jump range. Who knows? They may start us out with like a big ship, and then take that away later on in the story. But so if we had something that was minimal, let's say a 10 jump range or a 9 jump range, we might be able to assume or have an insightful guess as to which system we may start out in. And like, as you've already done, so if we have a jump range of about 9 light years, these right here are the systems that we could potentially start in to get to Seoul within that range. Am I thinking about that right?
I mean, basically, yeah. I guess it's kind of difficult to make assumptions about the start of the game because there might be other plot devices at play.
Right.
And the other
Wormholes
thing
or
to keep
whatever.
in, yeah, whatever. And the other thing to keep in mind is that the whole thing this was constructed from it kind of focused to the whole right of Seoul. Like you can see that Seoul is pretty much left of the map.
I see
So
that.
uh, yeah, so we're not quite sure what that means, right? So we already have 75 stars, and Todd, what did he say? Like 100 or more than 100 systems or something?
Right.
So probably I would guess there's quite maybe the same amount of stars to the left of Seoul, just because like didn't they kind of talk about that the game is in a 50 light year radius or something around Seoul, like the settled systems?
Right. Which makes me think that, it may be 50 light years out towards, that far corner. And then everything kind of revolves around that. And maybe Seoul isn't the center of this Starfield universe.
Possible, although I have to say, like, if you actually, like, I mean, we can do the measurement, right? So we have Seoul there, and you kind of look at the outmost star. Let me move a couple of things around. That's HD, what's it called? HD 134,
Mm-hmm.
that one. So you can hover with the mouse over it, and you can see it's like 102 light years. So that's
Oh,
already like
wow.
twice the distance, which is a
Yes.
bit puzzling, and I'm not sure how to explain it. Um, I don't know how that kind of fits together. I'm just
That's
saying
really
that it
intriguing,
might
though.
abs Oh yeah. So let me get back to Soul. Yeah, by the way, like if you click a system, it centers around that, right? That's what the
Perfect.
whole
Yeah.
center selection means. Yeah. So it's absolutely plausible that, let me look, Soul, that there's a bunch of stars left of Soul, or even
And we just
in
haven't seen
front of
those
it.
yet. Right.
Exactly. And
Okay.
yeah.
So
But
if in
you were
the
right about ranges.
okay, so if in the next upcoming June Starfield Direct they show a whole other part of the settled systems, then you're going to be a busy guy. Or is it as simple as just doing that 3D tracking thing again and throwing the data in, or do you kind of have to start from scratch at that point?
So I was kind of happy that they didn't show another one of the videos because I guess I would be faster now, but it's a bit of work to do the tracking and kind of combine it with the already existing data and everything. But
Right.
it would be possible, yeah. We'd have to see what we actually can see, yeah.
Gotcha. How if you could take a guess, just kind of getting the initial program up and running and getting all the data in to for people to play around with it, how much of your time did that take?
Oh, so I did it in my free time. So in the evening, a couple of hours per day, I guess.
Okay.
And so I was busy at the start, and I would say so a couple of weeks, maybe 4 weeks or something,
Okay.
at that pace. At the beginning, it was a lot of programming, and to the end, it was kind of polish, like identifying the last stars, getting the errors down, and all kind of that stuff. But
Okay.
about that, yeah.
It's very impressive, Sebastian. It's very neat. I can see it being incredibly useful as well. What and you may have like hit on this a little bit before, but as someone who I'm assuming you're like you said, you do this in the evenings, when you get off work and kind of in between family and lifetime. What was it that kind of inspired you to dive into this project specifically?
Oh boy, I mean, it's kind of the perfect puzzle, isn't it? Like, it's a
I love
game
that
that
answer.
everyone's
I love
hyped.
that.
Yeah, like it's a game everyone's hyped about. Me too, of course.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it fit right within, the things I know, like C++ programming and that kind of stuff. And it worked out surprisingly well, I'd have to say. I would be kind of
Right.
disappointed if we got it completely wrong, but honestly, like if you look at the errors we get now for the stars, they are minuscule, like within zero point 0.1 light years for the worst kind of offender. That's tiny.
Hmm.
So I'm relatively confident on the positions, I would say.
That is really cool. Would something like this, and I'm dreaming now, but if you'll dream with me for a second, would something like this be, I don't know, could you see this being useful as like a companion app or something to Starfield? Like if you wanted to make a app on the Apple App Store or the Android store, like would this, in theory, could it function as that if somebody just wanted to play around with planning out where they want to go next?
I guess the biggest utility of the program from a player perspective is the whole route planning thing. So,
Hmm.
like here, the standard route that's selected by default is if you want to go from Seoul to Prima, and as a player, it would be kind of hard, I guess, to pick the optimal route. For a computer,
Hmm.
it's trivial, and like you can, select your start and destination, and it tells you exactly what kind of steps you have to take. Now, whether that's actually a mechanic in the game, I'm not sure because they
Hmm.
could easily have it integrated into Starfield itself, like an autopilot or something. Because I'm not sure if it's a fun mechanic to play around. Because in the end, you're kind of doing point and click and kind of try to get to the end. I'm not sure. If
Sure.
that's a mechanic that's in the game and like a problem to be solved, I guess it'd be easier to have as a mod in game. I'm not sure. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Have you had any modders connect with you and say, "Hey, I'm interested in this. Can we talk once the whole creation kit comes out?"
I don't think the modding scene is quite starting. There's a guy who kind of has a prototype modding API going on, but it's like very early stages, obviously, since
Right.
so I'm not a modder myself. I'm not big into that kind of stuff. So yeah, I guess we'll have to wait for the release at least to kind of know
Okay.
more about that.
But for now, you seem to be just like happy that, hey, I made this thing that works and now other people can play with it.
Yeah, I mean it's a gimmick. Not sure how fun it is to play around with it. I had fun. Um, some other people had. Yeah, but everyone can try. Click
Yeah.
around.
Well, and I think I mean, that's kind of all we have right now, right? But before the game actually comes out, it's
Yeah.
just something, something to look at, something to listen to, something to play with. And so I think this is just an incredible addition to, the community. I think it speaks volumes as to, yourself and your own skills, but also just the Starfield community as a whole, and just the passion, that we have for this idea that Bethesda has put out there. And I'm sure in the grand scheme of things, even though we've got a few little pieces of gameplay and a few explanations of how things will work, like it's probably right the tip of the iceberg. And so I'm really excited to see what you may even come up with a different project to use, and what other people do, whether it's mods or whether it's content on YouTube or different applications like this. So I'm very excited. So 2 questions for you as we kind of wrap up. Is there anything else you want to mention about the program, or just about the process, or your enjoyment of it? And then 2, is there kind of an easy way for people to send you a quick thanks, whether it's through like Venmo or PayPal or Patreon or anything like that?
Don't worry about sending me things. Like, have fun. Go to the GitHub page, download it, use it, have fun, whatever. Don't worry about
Cool.
me.
You're
Um,
doing fine, evidently.
yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
What's the other question? I kind of forgot.
Yeah, is there anything else you want to mention about the program, or
All
about the
right.
process, or anything else you're excited about for Starfield?
So I guess there's a bit of mystery left. I mean, there are a couple of mysteries. Sure, you would know more about that than me. On the mapping kind of things. So we've been kind of intrigued. I'm sure you know that whenever you see Starfield logos and backgrounds and everything, there are those kind of lines, and you have like a 2D map, right? So with stars as
Right.
dots. And you might also remember that during multiple videos now, we could kind of see like a table with a map on board of a ship.
Yes.
And multiple people now actually put it all together. So it's all the same map. So all the background images, even in the what's known like the constellation questions videos and
Mm-hmm.
the map on the table, it's all the same map. Now, that might be a coincidence, but might just have been someone putting together like a huge thing and used for everything 2D. We've kind of been trying to kind of find out whether that's an actually part of a star map.
Okay.
We haven't been
So
successful. I'm sorry.
this map you're referring to, is it in the gameplay reveal, or that very first like
Oh,
cinematic teaser?
uh, it's you mean the table map? Oh, it's definitely in the 9 month ago video, in the 15-minute video.
Okay.
Or
Let's
is it?
see.
Let me think. No, it wasn't the teaser, I think, mostly. Like in the kind
Where we
of
see the sandwich
halfway rendered thing.
that everyone loves.
Yeah, exactly. I
Okay.
think we
Let me
got
pull that up.
the clear shot of it there. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I didn't even realize, Sebastian, that was a map. Man, those
Oh
are
man,
eagle
you're way
eyes, buddy.
behind.
I am.
So,
I am way behind.
so I have to say, like the 2D map thing isn't like my thing. It's mostly Iskierka who's into that. But
Mhm.
yeah, so that's actually like it's obviously a star map 2D one,
Yeah.
and yeah, you kind of have to zoom in and do some stuff. But
Right.
and again, that's the
That's
same
so
one
cool.
as we've seen in all the kind of backgrounds, and it's all the same map. But we just don't know
Okay.
whether it's important or just like a random kind of media file laying around.
Gotcha. But as far as it connecting what we see here to the data that you already have, there hasn't been a strong connection yet. Is that what you were saying earlier?
Yeah, so we
Okay.
kind of tried, but the thing is, our data isn't 3D, the map is in 2D, so it would be easiest to just kind of, look from the front and see a pattern like matching. We
Mm-hmm.
didn't, and I'm relatively confident that there isn't one. It might just be another part of the map, like left of Seoul or something. It might
Mm-hmm.
also be from another perspective, which would be kind of hard to find. We were thinking about like making the computer run through it, but I kind of didn't want to do the effort, to be honest.
Sure. 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 No, that makes sense. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny. I kind of got into the Starfield content creation game a little late. And so I kind of I didn't want to just like regurgitate everything else that had been done. And so I kind of started in a different place. So I definitely missed this. I'm way behind. That is so cool though. Wow. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much, Sebastian, for taking time to chat,
Sure.
for showing us around the program, for just being an awesome part of the community. I hope to, on this channel, I hope to celebrate, really cool things that a lot of other people are doing. You mentioned earlier that we're not exactly sure like how the space travel is going to work. Is it going to be like, okay, we can fly around in our system freely and then travel to different systems, or is all of it, we can travel all across the galaxy if we want to, but we also have the option to fast travel. So there's a lot of questions we don't have answered. I'm talking with someone about that. He had made some really interesting graphics, just 2D kind of concept art graphics. I think I'm going to talk to him a little bit later tonight. So I think as all of us kind of use, our gifts and our skills to come together, not that, we'll figure anything out, but I think it adds to the community. Just, there's value in the conversation. So thank you so much for being a part of this conversation.
Sure, it was a pleasure.
Well, everyone out there at Starfield Signal, be sure to, I'll put the links in the description. If you see Sebastian around the Reddit posts or around the YouTube comments, be sure to just give him a quick shout out. And thank you so much again, Sebastian, for joining us all the way from Germany. And you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, man.
All right, and for everyone else, thanks for watching. And for now, may you find wonder as you journey through the stars.